Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the morning coffee break. My name's Kathy, and welcome to a rather sunny East Tennessee morning. We're not going to be doing any artwork today. Today we're going to make Jewelweed salve. And I'm going up to my cousin Vicky's to pick some jewelweed. I'm going to take you guys along. She lives about a half mile away. And show you a little bit about how jewelweed grows, how to identify it, and then we're going to make the salve. You ask me what's it good for? Well, anything that itches, really. You know, I've had folks use the product that I make for things like eczema. It's best known for killing off poison ivy, poison oak, that kind of thing. Get a new tattoo, kills the itch. Bug bites, kills the itch. So anything that itches, basically, it'll kill it down enough that you can tolerate it. Poison ivy, it can, and most oftentimes will, kill it out. So I've got a lot of people asking me for jewelweed. I haven't made any in a couple of years, so this fall, and this is the best time I've found to gather it. This fall we're going to make jewelweed salve. So let's get going, and I'll show you a little bit about how we do this. We are at a very large jewelweed patch, and I thought I'd show you how to identify the plants. Right now they're blooming, which is what I have learned is going to be the best time to gather this for the jewelweed salve. Now you want to look first. This is actually the flower. Now, a lot of people in this area call it lady slipper, and it's probably because of the shape of the flower. As you can see, it's kind of a slipper-looking trumpet type flower. These are the spotted jewelweeds, so it's got the little spots on the inside. I don't know if my camera will focus enough for you to see that. But this is the jewelweed flower, and it'll start flowering in early August, late July, and all of this plant is actually edible, from what I understand. I've not tried it. So that's the flower, and as you will see how the dew has kind of beaded up on the leaves. Kind of looks like a little jewel sitting there. Can you see that? I don't know if it's in focus now. But anyway, I think that's where it may have gotten its name. Now, let me pull one of these up to show you the stalk. Get a little one down here. If you're out looking for the jewelweed, you'll notice how the stalks kind of bump up there, and the leaves will shoot off of those little bumps in the stalk. It's a very woody plant, and it will grow anywhere that stays moist most of the time. Right in this case, it's right at the edge of the woods. You'll find them around creeks and streams and rivers and that kind of thing. A lot of places I've seen it grow right on the side of the road. And as you can see, there is lots and lots of it right here at Cousin Vicky's house. So we're going to gather up some of this stuff and get ready to make jewelweed salve. Alright guys, as you can see, I got a whole trunk load of jewelweed from Cousin Vicky's patch that she had out behind her house right at the edge of the woods. Got a trunk load. I mean, I've got a big load. I don't know if I'll get all of this cooked up, but she's got more than I'll ever use in 1 year down there, so I don't worry about over picking it really. It probably travels along 50 to 75 yards behind her house, just as thick as it could be. So I've got all the jewelweed I could ever want to get right there, and it's about a half mile from home. And Took maybe 10 minutes to pull all this up. Of course, me and Vicki had to stand there and talk for 20 minutes, but in about 30 minutes, I'm back home. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is I brought my big pots outside. These are big soup pots and a canner actually, that I'm going to cook this up in. I've got dishwashing liquid and bleach in here. I'm going to scrub them out good because I use them mainly for cooking outdoors or to make the Jewelweed salve. So they've been sitting for a while and they need to be cleaned up good. So they're going to get bleached and scrubbed and all of that outdoors here, because this is where I'm going to chop up my Jewelweed rather than drag it all in the house. So here I have all my Jewelweed laying at the edge of the patio. I'm going to take the water hose, spray the roots and all that off, and then chop it all up. Now, I was telling you earlier about how to identify this. See the little willows that's growing at the roots here? You're going to find this in very, very moist soil. You don't have to be by a creek or a river or whatever. You can find it at the edge of the woods as long as it stays damp. Now, the easiest way I have found to identify it is, see these knots right here? And in these knots, this is where the leaves and the smaller stems will branch, right here on these knots. And it works all the way down the plant like that. So if you're out looking for it, these are rather large plants because they haven't been harvested in several years. So I've got quite a few big ones. But you'll find that on all of them, even the small ones, they'll have those little knots in the stem there, and that's where the leaves branch out. So let's get this started and get started chopping all this up. Like I said, I may have more than I can cook off today, but it's plentiful. So, and I left some of the smaller plants so they would reseed and repopulate that area. These do not, they're annuals. They only come back if they can reseed themselves. So I left a lot of the smaller plants so that it could reseed itself, and we should have a good stand for years to come. Alright guys, let's get busy. Okay, I wanted to show you what I'm doing here. After I get everything cut up, I wash it off again, and I've cleaned and bleached this table so I could do this. I lay it out here to let all the water drip out of it. Now you can use every bit of the plant, the leaves, the roots, all of it. But for my purposes and what I'm doing, I don't want any or as little water as possible in here. So I'm not using the roots and I'm not using the leaves because they retain so much of that water that I wash the plant with. So I've let it drip dry right here. I've still got a lot more to cut, but once the water is kind of drained off of it, it goes in the pot. And I'm not particular about leaving no leaves or no blossoms or any of that on there. I just want as little water as possible to get in my mixture, which is why I'm using just stems and as little in the leaf department as possible. So I've got about a half a pot, and when I get it full, I am going to cover it with oil And you can use any kind of natural oils, organics, you know. You can use sunflower oil, canola oil. I'd rather not use vegetable oil, but, you know, if you're in a pinch and you have to. Olive oil, canola oil, sunflower oil, just something that you're going to pick up in the grocery store. And make sure that you've got all the plant covered. All the material that you have in your pot covered. Then you're going to put it over a heat source. I would like to do mine outdoors today, but it looks like it's going to rain, and they are calling for rain now. So I will be doing this indoors with the doors and windows open, probably, because it doesn't put an unpleasant odor out, but it's quite strong. So that's where we're going, and when I get the rest of this done, I'll show you what it looks like on the stove. And after that, after I heat it, cook it for about 4 to 6 hours, like I said, over a very low heat, I'll cover it, let it cool, let it set overnight, and infuse as much of this plant material as possible inside. Once that's done, after it sets for a while, we'll strain it, and we've got our infused oil to use in the Jewelweed salve. Alright guys, I told you earlier that I was going to end the video there, but I want you to look at this. I've got 2 pots, absolutely filled to the brim with Jewelweed stems and leaves and blossoms and a few roots that I'm going to start cooking off. Now, the reason that I do not use too many of the roots, see how small these are? Well, the larger the plant gets, the more that holds on to things like dirt and leaves, and there was even some pine cones and stuff stuck in these. So if you can find the roots that are like this and easy to clean, that's one thing. But those bigger roots, the bigger root balls, you just absolutely cannot get them clean. So I usually don't use too many roots unless I find them, you know, like this, so they're easy to clean. And as I told you before, I don't use too many of the leaves because I wash all this stuff down, and I don't want water in my mixture because it's oil that's going into this. And so I you know, it's not that I don't use any leaves, I just kind of keep the number down as low as I can, and but I still use some of them because there's a benefit to all of the plant. Everything in here is edible, and I've not tried it yet. I may break down and try it after a while. But everything about this plant is edible and usable for things like what we're making today. That's the only reason I don't use too many leaves, is because of the moisture content after they're washed. Not from the leaf. It's washing the stuff. So let's get, I think I'm going to have to pull some of this out to get my oil in here. And as it cooks down, and it will, I'll just keep adding to it until I use up all the material I have. So let me get this started cooking, and we'll go from there. Well, would you listen at that? It's a good thing I decided to cook the Jewelweed inside the house, because it is going to come a storm here in a bit, and the dogs want in the house. Don't you, Dobby? You want in? Hello, Luna. Everybody wants in the house. Where you want? Where you want to go? Where you want to go? Huh? Yeah, that's where you want to go, right? What? You want in the house? You afraid of the thunder? Is that what the deal is? Huh? Okay. This is my typical storm day. Okay. Oh, goodness. Okay, folks, here we are. We have 2.5 gallons. 2.5 gallons of oil cooking in these jewelweed stems and leaves and roots and stuff on the stove in the house. Now, when I first brought this inside, it gave the whole kitchen like a damp, woodsy smell. Now, as this cooks down, it gets to be a little different odor. It's not unpleasant. It's not one I'd want in the house every day, though. The woodsy smell would be good. But the mixture of this oil and the plant materials, you know, that kind of changes things. So it's cooking down, and I have right here in my bowl some to add to it as it cooks down. Now, you saw how full the pots were to begin with. That's why I have some of this left over to add to it as it cooks. Now, it's been in the pots for about an hour, hour and a half. So you see a lot of it has cooked down. I'll be adding to it. My other pot here, I've gotten a little too warm. It's kind of, the oil's kind of bubbly, so I've turned the heat down. You want to do this on really low heat. This for a little while is not going to hurt it. Just brings the oil up to temperature and helps kind of boil that down just a little bit. But you don't want it doing this the whole time. But it's cooking down in this one as well. And it will cook here for 6 full hours before I turn it off, cover it up, and let it set overnight. Then tomorrow we'll finish the salve. So it is almost 3. We'll be cooking this till about 7, 8 o'clock tonight. And we'll turn it off, cover it up, let it sit. So that's where we are today, and that's where I'm going to leave it. This portion of the video. Probably going to do this in 2 parts. Today is the prep work. Tomorrow is putting it all together. So be sure and hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button if you're enjoying this. And you'll be notified every time I post a new video when that happens. Thank you for watching. Please leave a comment here and there. Let me know how you're enjoying the videos. And I'll see you again tomorrow morning. Bye.